When I was growing up, I hardly knew there was such a thing as canned biscuits. My mom made almost everything from scratch, almost all the time. On the rare occasions we did have biscuits from a can, we always said, please next time make homemade biscuits again. So today I'm going to share with you my homemade buttermilk biscuit recipe. Thanks for joining me today on Susan's Cozy Kitchen. You're going to be amazed at how simple and easy it is to make really good buttermilk biscuits from scratch. To start off with, I have 2 cups of self-rising flour in my bowl. To that, I'm going to cheat just a little bit. I am out of buttermilk right now, so I have this wonderful product that is basically powdered buttermilk, and I know I'm going to use somewhere between 3/4 and a cup of milk in my biscuits. So I'm going to measure out 4 tablespoons of this and put in there 1, 2, 3, 4. Give that a quick mix in. You know, that just gets it mixed in with the flour so that it's incorporated all the way through the dough once it's all put together. So there's that. Now, I have a stick of very cold salted butter. I'm only going to use 6 tablespoons of it. I'll just cut these 2 off. And then I just cube my butter to make it easier to cut into the flour. So I'm just going to do some slices here and another slice. Okay, and then into the flour. Now there's a variety of ways that you can mix the flour into the butter. So I've heard some people say they work it in with their fingers. I use a pastry blender. So let's just get going with the pastry blender. I've got the butter worked into the flour to the point that you don't really see big chunks of butter anymore. I know they say like coarse crumbs. Well, you know, what do coarse crumbs in flour look like? I've never really figured that out. So I just keep working it until I really don't see the butter anymore. Okay, so the butter is well worked in. Next, the milk. I've already measured a cup of milk. I'm going to start by pouring in about 3/4 of a cup. And I like to mix mine using a fork, but you can use a wooden spoon. All right, that is not going to be enough, so I'm going to end up using the other 1/4 of a cup. See, I told you it was going to take all of it. And I'd mix the dough till it all comes together. Don't overwork the dough. The less you handle it, the better. It's not like making a yeast dough where you have to work it so that it rises. You want to work your biscuit dough as little as possible, so that makes your biscuits lighter, fluffier, and they will rise higher. So once you've got everything worked together and ready, I like to do this on wax paper. It just makes the cleanup easier. Add a little flour. And then I turn out my biscuit dough onto that. I always sprinkle just a little bit over the top just to make it a little easier to work with. And then knead it just a time or 2. You don't want to, like I said, you don't want to overwork the dough. So just a few little times. That was what, maybe 5, 6, 7 at the most. And you notice I didn't like work it, I just kind of folded it over on itself a little bit. Then you pat it out to just a 1/2 inch thick. I think this is one of the things that makes my biscuits turn out really well. I use a cast iron skillet to cook them in. I got this cast iron skillet from my mom, who had had it basically since she got married, which in 1948. It's a nice old vintage cast iron here. I've already poured a little bit of cooking oil in there, and when I put my first biscuit in there, I'll kind of rub it around the bottom to make sure that everything is coated. The next thing, the biscuit cutters. I have a set of 3. There's a large one, a medium, and a small. Most of the time I go for the medium, but I think today I'm going to go for the small because it will fill this up a little bit better. I'm able to put a few more biscuits in there, and as they're packed in there a little bit tighter, they will rise higher instead of spreading out. So you want them to go up, not out. Unless you like thinner, flatter biscuits, and then by all means, maybe use the bigger one, leave a little bit of room in between so that the biscuits can spread out. Look how pretty that is now. Just going to rub it around on the bottom. Make sure that it's all coated with the oil. All right, here's the second. Just going to keep going until I have all the biscuits in the cast iron. If your biscuit starts sticking inside your cutter, like mine are starting to do, just pour out a little bit of flour to the side. You just sort of rub your cutter through that, and it'll help coat it with flour so that the biscuits come out easier. Now when you get down to this part where you've got like all these little gibbles, just mash it all back together. Pat them back down, smooth, and finish cutting out your biscuits. So here's that. Okay, I've got a couple there. In my family, we like to have what we call baby biscuits. So I'm going to form a little biscuit to fit in some of these areas there. So I've got one on that side, and I'll put one on this side, and that will help to fill up the holes in between the biscuits in here so that everything goes up. Now, with what's left, I'm going to cut out one more, and then just going to shape this into a rustic round. And these two that are left, I'll pop into the freezer, freeze them, add them to a bag of ongoing extra biscuits, and then later when I maybe just want 1 or 2 biscuits, or I don't really have time to make fresh homemade biscuits, I've got frozen biscuit dough in the freezer that I can pull out, them thaw slightly, and then pop them into the air fryer or the oven, and I have biscuits. They're not quite as good as absolutely fresh, but they beat a can. There you go. Let's get this preheating. Going to bake 425 for 10 minutes. And while I'm waiting on that, I'll clean up some of my mess. All right, it's at 425. Let's pop this in. And in about 10 minutes, we will have golden brown biscuits. Okay, the timer just beeped. Let's check the biscuits. They're a perfect golden brown. They've risen, and the bottom is equally, they're very hot, so I'm having trouble picking it up. The bottom is a nice golden brown also. They're absolutely perfect. I don't know if you can hear the sizzling in the background, but I've got sausages back there cooking. I started them while the biscuits were in the oven. They'll be finished in just a bit, and it's almost time to eat breakfast, y'all. Let's get into this biscuit and just see. Look at that. Oh, just a beautiful crumb inside, light, tender, flaky. And because of the butter that we put in it, it has a nice light buttery flavor already. You can always add a little bit more to it if you want, or you can eat it just as it is. Thanks for joining me today on Susan's Cozy Kitchen. As always, the full recipe is in the description box below. If you enjoyed today's video, please be sure and give it a big thumbs up. If you've not already subscribed, please do so, and make sure that you ring the bell so that you are notified every time I upload a new video to YouTube. Thanks for watching. God bless.